When every word counts, know what your word count should be. Welcome to Jenn's Writing World. If you have a story to tell, you are in the right place. Let's do it 10 minutes at a time. Well, as you can see, I have a very tired cat sleeping on my printer, and I thought he could join us today as we talk about word counts. If you are an indie published author, which means you write your own books, you publish your own books, and you don't have to ask permission from anyone on how long or short your books should be, you may think that word count doesn't matter. You'll write whatever you want. But when you write the description of your book, word count and how many words traditionally are in different types of stories can be important to your reader. If I pay $4.99 for a book, but it is a novella, or worse, a novelette under 20,000 words, I'm going to wonder why I'm paying $4.99 for 20,000 words. At the same point in time, if you've written some epic fantasy thing and it is a novel and it's 500,000 words, I think you should tell me. One, I may not want to read that many words, or two, I may think your $4.99 price is a real steal for that many words. So no matter whether you are indie published or traditionally published, word count does matter. Now clearly, if you are traditionally published, word count can matter a lot to your editor, to your agent, to the publisher, to the magazine, to the writing contest. So today I thought we would go through and look at the various lengths of different types of stories. First thing, I have to say something that I say a lot. Some people may say that these are hard and fast rules, but the fact is that they're just guidelines. You should be writing the book that is the length you want to write, and worry about whether it's a novelette or a novel once it's done. Now, of course, if you're writing for a writing contest or a magazine, I do suggest looking at their submission sheet or the writing contest guidelines to find out the word count that they don't want you to exceed, because it would be a real bummer if you wrote a great 5,000 word short story and found out that it was only allowing 2,000 words for that contest. So save yourself some grief. Do your research. But remember that if you have to write a longer book because that's the book that's inside of you, you don't have to follow these rules necessarily. Let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with flash fiction, which is absolutely one of my favorite types of writing to do. Now, I like to keep my flash fiction under 1,000 words, but all the websites I found said that the upper limit for flash fiction is about 1,500 words. But when it comes to flash fiction, less is more. So let me give you a list of some shorter short forms you could write in. Sudden fiction has a max of 750 words. Drabble or microfiction has a max of 100 words. Dribble or mini saga has a max of 50 words. Twitterature has a max of 280 characters, and the 6-word story is any story with a single-digit word count, although normally it is 6. Writing short can be really hard, but it can also be a ton of fun. Have you ever tried to write a drabble, a story with only 100 words? I suggest you try it. Find a writing contest that only wants 100-word stories, or there's e-zines out there that only take 6-word stories, and see what you can do. It's a great way to expand your writing universe. All right, the next category is one we're probably all familiar with, and that is short stories. Short stories are between 1,000 and 7,500 words. That's in general. If you are writing for a magazine, check their submissions, guidelines, and see how many words they allowed, because it definitely varies. If you are writing a reader magnet so that people will give you their email address on your writing website, short stories can be a great format to do that in. Although I have to say I'm not opposed to using flash fiction. The trick is usually people want value when they hand over their email to your list, and short stories tend to be about the right length. While a novella could be considered a short novel, and a novelette could be considered a long short story, both of these forms of writings can stand alone, as in they can be published by themselves. And so that makes them a little different than short stories. Not that a short story can't be published on its own. Lots of people publish short stories by themselves for 99 cents. But usually books that are 7,500 words or less tend to be part of anthologies, several short stories together, either by the same author or by different authors. Whereas novelettes and novellas can be published on their own. Novelettes are between 7,500 words and 17,500 words. Like I said, these can be considered long short stories, also good for reader magnets, but they can also be published alone. I did a series on Amazon. 12 books make up the entire story arc, but each one stood on its own, and each one was about 10,000 words. So I would say that each story was a novelette, which is a fine amount of words for a story if that is the length of the story you need to tell. Getting a little longer, novellas are stories that are between 17,500 and 40,000. And obviously that is a very large category. A great many books that we consider novels, especially classics, would fall into the novella category. And really, you don't have to use the word novella. It does let people know that it is going to be a shorter book. And I always believe that letting the reader know the length of the book is helpful, because some readers may be looking for a shorter read. And if you let them know that yours is a novella, it is very possible that they will pick it up. This is also a great size if you are writing stories and you want to have one that's on permafree in Kindle. Maybe it's a prologue to the first book that you wrote. And so you put it on sale for 99 cents always, or you make it the free one. And that way it gives readers a taste of your characters, your storyline, your writing style, and then hopefully they go on to buy more of your books. But they didn't have to make the huge investment to get started. However, as I said before, a great many novels fall into this category, and this is just a few of them. Animal Farm by George Orwell is 29,966 words. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck is 29,160 words. The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway is 26,601 words. The Metamorphosis, an absolute favorite of mine, by Franz Kafka is 21,180 words. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, a favorite of lots of people, is 38,421 words. So as you can tell, you can write a complete, in-depth, complex story with many characters and still fall into this category. So don't let the word novella make you think that it is less of a story, because any book that is 40,000 words or under, say 20,000 to 40,000 words, can be a complete novel, as these titles have shown. And now we're into what is possibly the most convoluted of writing count categories, and that is the novel. In my thumbprint, I held up two books. This is Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats and Him. As you can tell, pretty darn skinny. This is not a novel, but it is the Dutch Republic, its rise, greatness, and fall. But if it was a novel, that is a chunk. And obviously I could have held up War and Peace if I had a copy of it, which I don't because I read it on my phone. But before I say anything else, I will say the phone, the e-book, has kind of ruined all these categories. Because it used to be you would go into a bookstore and you knew what you were getting with this hefty thing. And maybe you weren't ready to read Chihuahua Killers, so you went for something smaller. Nowadays, it doesn't matter how thick the book is, because it all fits on your phone. So while the reading count is information for the length of time it takes to read, it no longer is the deterrent for the weight of the book that you have to read. But the trick with novels is different genres have different word lengths. Not on the bottom end. They're all over 40,000 words, but definitely on the top end. A mystery, they tend to run 80, 90,000 words, although I have seen mysteries go up into the 100,000s. If you're writing epic fantasy, probably you're not going to be under 120,000, and many of them go up into 400,000 or 500,000. So for your individual genre, you would want to know what the guidelines are. And I've given you a list right here. Now, I've just given you those, and I will say that the website I got these from, I think they're a little low on the high end. I think a lot of books, especially with ebooks coming out where you don't have to carry the weighty thing around anymore, there's many books in each genre that are getting longer. But within each genre, they do vary. A Dance of Dragons, which is one of the Game of Thrones books by George R.R. Martin, is 422,000 words. It's a bestseller. It's a great book. Lots of dragons. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, another classic with a dragon, is only 95,336 words. So as you can tell, both of those are epic fantasy, but there's a great variation between their word count. It's not that one is better than the other. You guys can have that discussion between the Lord of the Ring fans and the Game of Thrones fans, although I imagine there's a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram. But it is fascinating that neither one of them felt duty-bound to follow the guidelines of what makes a fantasy novel. So in the end, does word count matter? No, I don't think it does. You should write the book you want to write in the genre you want to write in, and it should be the length you want it to be. Now, if you're indie publishing, congratulations, do whatever you want. If you're traditionally publishing, there may be guidelines that your agent wants you to follow, your editor wants you to follow, the publisher wants you to follow. But you know what? There's also an awful lot of publishing agencies out there, and different ones will want it different ways. So if you want to write science fiction and you're afraid it won't get published because it's only 50,000 words, well, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams was only 46,333 words, and I would consider it to be one of the best books ever written. Did he feel the need to exceed, 90,000 words because he was writing sci-fi? Apparently not. And did he get it published? Yes. Now, was that the 70s? Yes, but that doesn't mean you can't do it too. Short is not bad. Long is not bad. Telling a story and cutting it off early is bad. Telling a story and dragging it on long after it should end is also bad. So don't write your story to meet a word count unless that is your goal. Otherwise, write the story you want and then figure out how your word count can help you market your book. Consider them like a box. And you start in the box, but if your story needs to, it can expand the box. Join me Tuesday and we will expand our own boxes by adding to our word count in our 10-minute write-in. I appreciate your support of my channel. If you want more videos like this, subscribe down below. A like is always appreciated, and I'd love it if you would share the channel with your writing friends. Today's quote is by William Faulkner. I don't think I have to tell you who he is, and this is what he said. A writer strives to express a universal truth in the best possible way that he can. In the way that rings the most bells, in the way that rings the most bells in the shortest amount of time. This goes to word count. You should write the most concise, complete, interesting, imaginative book you can in as few words as you need to write it. But few does not mean none. It doesn't mean 3. It means that if you can tell the story in 90,000 words, there's no reason to tell it in 120,000 words. And this is where knowing the word count of different genres and different types of books can come in very handy. So long from Jenn's writing world and from Chewy the sleepy cat. Until we see you again, write, write, write.